Awesome. So I was asked why the long span between some videos, which is awesome because that means people are paying attention. So I think that's something that I guess is worth talking about, and it's definitely something that I know I'm not the only one that's going to have to struggle with it, is when you're teaching yourself how to code, getting that balance, right? So it's about budgeting, right? It's about budgeting time, it's about budgeting money, it's about budgeting like your limited resources, which really is time, honestly. So for me, one thing that has happened, so the last year has been crazy. I've basically been, working a job, right? And finding opportunities on the job to introduce myself into coding. I had to do VB script at the time. And then what I did is I would come home and I'd be messing with some Java, messing with some JavaScript, messing with some Node, messing with all sorts of different things, and kind of experimenting around and trying to figure out how things work, watching videos, doing different educational tutorials, and that was kind of my back and forth. At the same time, I have a commute, so coming back home, I want to see, my wife and spend some time together before it's time for bed. And then you got to wake up in the morning, and I go back to education, and then I go and to work and repeat the cycle. And then the weekends, that's a little bit of a mix of everything, right? And one of the things that I knew in the beginning of all this was that I wanted to find a way to promote myself, to practice and communicate some of the things that I wish I had found on a blog or vlog, and I wanted to go ahead and do that. Now, so initially what happened is I started off writing some blog posts, and the thing is that blogs are great, but the truth is I'm not a blogger, and that's something that I kind of found out along the way. But so I started doing some blog posts, and simultaneously I did some video vlogs, and they might be on the same subject or a slightly different subject, and those two overlapped with each other. And it was a lot of time and resources, and I didn't feel that it was really getting anywhere. And especially with the blogs more so. I'm writing these articles, but I don't really feel the same, or I'm nitpicking, or it's just not me. I'm more video driven. I'm much more interested in that aspect. And honestly, myself, I personally don't really follow blogs too much. I definitely search out things and will read blogs, but I'm not necessarily one to subscribe to any particular blogging channel, although I will come across some of them all the time. I guess I follow the news. I follow whatever's going on that's recent and trending, and whatever's interesting, and it's more than just, I guess I come across blogs, but I don't necessarily subscribe to any one blog. YouTube, however, is different for me. And I kind of figured out that, here I am entering this blogging world, and I'm not a blogger. I'm not interested in blogging. That's not me. And truthfully, I don't know if I'm really interested in the person who's looking at me specifically because of my blog. The information that I want to give, the things that I want to talk about, I'd much rather do on video. And a lot of the ways that I enjoy hearing about things right now is I'm listening to, during my commute, I'm listening to audio, or I'm listening to, a podcast or a vlog. I just listen to it instead. But, it's the talking that I'm more concerned with. So I definitely think that it's worth thinking about, as far as, for me personally, I'm just doing the video because that's where content, I think, is going. That's where I think content is being driven. And so what happened is, a little bit ago, I started making adjustments and started tweaking things. And I just said, hey, I got to start producing more content. And of course, it's a balance because you're teaching yourself simultaneously. So the time you have to go towards your videos is limited. So a couple things started to change right away. I had to modify the editing. The editing just had to be modified and drastically cut down. I mean, why bother editing when I don't really have that kind of time? The next thing is I would modify how my thumbnails were made. I would modify how a couple things were done. And even the production shoot, I would shoot for multiple videos, and just, short or long, just continue talking until I run out of things to say. And I figured that was actually, cost benefit for me, because my goal at this moment still is to gain an audience, and a portion of that is just gathering content, just producing as much physical content as I can. That's something that I've definitely been tweaking with and messing with, and it still takes me a little bit of time. I'm finding a production process that is faster so I can produce more of a standardized timeline, whether it's one or two every 1 or 2 weeks, right? Just something that's a little bit more often than just sporadically once a month, or 3 times here and then nothing for a while and then one. I think inconsistency is probably the one thing that I'm having trouble with for this media on YouTube. And right now I don't have 100 subscribers, so I don't have certain abilities to trigger things on automatically. But even so, I'm kind of practicing that now, and what I'm doing is I'm sort of trying to practice them in the car, do some audio recording tests during my commute, and then on the way back home I will wait until a weekend and spend a little bit of time recording some audio, recording the video, editing the video, exporting the video, getting the thumbnails for the videos, and then queuing those up in private, so that when a week or two passes by, I can just change it from private setting to public setting, and then I'll go ahead and be able to release them, quote unquote, on a more timely basis, if you will, up until I get to that point where I actually have those extra tools from YouTube. Although the tools aren't going to produce content, they're just going to make it a little easier on some of that. But nonetheless, that's kind of a little bit about that balance, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit.